Amara stood quietly in a corner of the big mansion, watching as guests laughed, took pictures, and surrounded her father, Chief Obinna, and her brother Ngozi. The hall sparkled with golden lights and fine decorations. Music played softly in the background. It was supposed to be her birthday, but no one seemed to remember that. The celebration felt more like one of her father's business parties. She wore a simple blue dress, her hair neatly tied back. Compared to the women in shining gowns and heavy jewelry, Amara looked out of place. Still, she smiled politely, trying not to show how left out she felt. When the master of ceremonies took the microphone, everyone clapped. "Now, it's time for the gift presentation," he said cheerfully. Ngozi stepped forward first. He handed their father a small box. "Happy birthday, Dad," he said proudly. Chief Obinna opened it to reveal a luxury wristwatch. The guests clapped loudly as he smiled and hugged his son. Then, all eyes turned to Chief Obinna as he stood with the microphone. He cleared his throat, smiling faintly. "My daughter Amara," he began, glancing at her. "You know I love you. But respect must be earned. Maybe next year, when you've made something of yourself, I'll have a gift worth giving." The room went silent. The laughter and music stopped. A few guests looked at each other awkwardly, unsure how to react. Amara's smile froze on her face as her heart sank. She felt every pair of eyes on her. Some filled with pity, others with judgment. Her cheeks burned, and she wished she could disappear. She had never expected a fancy gift, but she didn't deserve this kind of insult. Not in front of everyone. From across the table, Mama Grace, her grandmother, watched quietly. Her old eyes darkened with anger, but she said nothing. Instead, she reached for Amara's trembling hand and held it gently under the table. Amara blinked back tears. Her father turned back to the guests, laughing as if nothing had happened. The music started again, but the joy had left the air. Inside, Amara's heart broke. It was her birthday, yet she had been made to feel invisible, like a stranger in her own home. Mama Grace leaned closer and whispered softly, "My dear, keep your head up. One day, they will see your true worth." Amara nodded weakly, but deep down, she wasn't sure if that day would ever come. The next morning, Amara sits in her small art studio downtown, sketching quietly to calm her heart. Sunlight shines through the window, lighting up her unfinished paintings, portraits, city scenes, and memories of people she loves. Her hands move slowly across the paper, but her mind is far away, still replaying last night's humiliation at the mansion. She sighs deeply. It wasn't the first time her father had embarrassed her, but it hurt more this time because it was her birthday. As she sketches, her thoughts drift back to the past. Amara was only 10 when her mother died. She still remembers that day. The sound of rain outside, her father's blank face, and her grandmother, Mama Grace, holding her close while she cried. After that, nothing was the same. Chief Obinna, once a loving man, grew harder. He buried himself in work and focused all his attention on her brother, Ngozi. He called Ngozi the future of the family, and made sure he had everything. The best schools, new clothes, every opportunity. Amara, on the other hand, was told to stay quiet and be useful. When she finished secondary school, Amara wanted to study fine arts. She dreamed of becoming a painter, to bring stories and emotions to life through colors. But her father refused. "Art doesn't feed you," he had said coldly. "Study accounting. It's a real career." Amara tried, but her heart wasn't in it. Numbers made her miserable. After a year, she dropped out and started working part-time in a small art gallery. That decision ended whatever respect her father had left for her. From then on, Chief Obinna called her a failure. He stopped visiting her and told people his daughter had chosen a childish life. Only Mama Grace stayed by her side. Every weekend, she would come to Amara's small apartment, carrying food in old bowls and love in her smile. "Don't let your father's pride bury your light," she would say gently. "You were born to create beauty, not to live in someone else's shadow." Those words always gave Amara strength. Later that afternoon, as Amara cleaned her brushes, her phone rang. It was Ngozi. His voice was sharp. "So you're hiding in your little art corner again," he sneered. "You embarrass us, Amara." "Dad's right. You're wasting your life." Amara's hand shook, but she didn't reply. She just ended the call quietly. Moments later, her phone buzzed again. This time it was Tund, her best friend from university. His tone was warm and full of care. Don't let them get to you, he said softly. You have real talent, Amara. One day, they'll see what you're made of. Just keep going. She smiled weakly. I hope so, Tund. I really do. As night fell, Amara sat by the window, watching the city lights blink in the distance. She felt both lost and determined, unsure of what her future held, but certain she couldn't give up her art. Her phone rang again. This time, it was Mama Grace. The old woman's voice was calm and gentle. My dear, she said softly, come see me tomorrow. There's something I've kept too long. Something you should have known long ago. Amara frowned, surprised. Is everything all right, Grandma? Mama Grace sighed. Yes, child. But it's time you learned the truth. The call ended, leaving Amara wide awake. She looked around her small studio, the paint, the brushes, her unfinished work, and wondered what her grandmother meant. She didn't know it yet, but the secret Mama Grace was about to share would change everything she believed about her father, her mother, and herself. Amara visits Mama Grace's small countryside home the next morning. The air is quiet and calm, filled with the smell of flowers and fresh bread. Birds sing softly outside as Amara walks up the narrow path. She hasn't been here in months, but the place feels warm and familiar, like a safe corner of her heart. Mama Grace opens the door with a smile. My dear child, she says, pulling Amara into a gentle hug. You look tired. Come in. They sit together in the small living room. The old woman pours hot tea into 2 cups, her hands shaking slightly with age. Amara holds her cup but doesn't drink. She can see that something is heavy on her grandmother's mind. After a long silence, Mama Grace sighs deeply. You know, when your mother was alive, your father wasn't like this. He had love in his heart, but pride changed him. Amara looks down, her throat tight. I try not to blame him, she whispers. But sometimes it feels like he forgot I'm his daughter. Mama Grace reaches across the table and takes her hand. You've carried too much pain, my child. But it's time you know the truth. Slowly, she stands and walks to an old wooden cupboard. She opens the bottom drawer and brings out a small, rusty metal box. The sound of the latch opening fills the quiet room. Inside are old papers, some yellow with age, others folded neatly. Amara leans forward, confused. Grandma, what is all this? Mama Grace takes out a small brown envelope sealed with red wax. Her eyes glisten with tears. Before your mother died, she gave me this, she says softly. She told me, if he ever treats Amara less than she deserves, give her what's rightfully hers. Amara's heart starts to race. She carefully opens the envelope. Inside are faded letters, a few legal documents, and a notarized deed with her name printed clearly at the top. Mama Grace watches her closely. Your mother's family owned half of E's holdings, she explains. She invested a large sum of money in your father's business before they got married, but she made sure the shares were in your name. Amara's eyes widen. You mean he used her money to build the company? Mama Grace nods sadly. Yes, my dear. Everything he built, the houses, the cars, the company, all began with your mother's investment. But after she died, he hid the truth. He made you believe you had nothing. Tears fill Amara's eyes. She can hardly breathe as she looks at the papers again. He made me feel like I was worthless, she whispers. Mama Grace nods. Because he didn't want to face his own shame. But the truth cannot stay buried forever. She pushes a document toward Amara, a notarized deed. This paper proves you are the legal co-owner of E's holdings and the family estate, she says firmly. Half of it belongs to you. Amara stares at the paper, her hands trembling. Her father's signature is there, clear and undeniable. It feels like the world has stopped. The same man who shamed her in front of everyone built his success on the foundation of her mother's love and her inheritance. She looks up at Mama Grace, voice shaking. Why didn't you tell me sooner? The old woman's eyes soften. Because your mother asked me to wait. She hoped your father would change. But now I see he won't. Not until you stand for yourself. Amara presses the papers to her chest, tears streaming down her face. She feels hurt, betrayed, but also stronger, as if a fire has just been lit inside her heart. In that small countryside home, surrounded by silence and love, she finally understands. Her father's empire was built on her mother's sacrifice and her own stolen future. And for the first time, Amara knows she must claim what truly belongs to her. Amara is torn, angry, hurt, and afraid all at once. She doesn't want revenge. She only wants her father to see her with respect, not shame. She sits quietly at Mama Grace's kitchen table, staring at the documents that could change everything. Her hands tremble slightly. "Grandma," she whispers, "if I show him this, he'll hate me forever." Mama Grace looks at her calmly. "You must confront him with calm, not chaos. That's how you'll win," she says gently. "You are your mother's daughter. Speak with strength, not anger." Amara nods slowly. She wipes her tears and breathes deeply. "All right," she says. "It's time he knows the truth." The next day, Amara dresses neatly and walks to the tall glass building that houses Ease Holdings. Her father's company logo shines proudly at the entrance. People walk in and out in suits, greeting each other with smiles. Amara stands there for a moment, feeling both small and powerful. When she enters, the receptionist looks up in surprise. "Miss Amara? Are you here to see Chief Obinna?" "Yes," Amara replies quietly. "It's important." The woman hesitates, then makes a call. Moments later, the secretary comes out, a tall woman with sharp eyes. "Chief is busy," she says coldly. "He doesn't have time for visitors." Before Amara can reply, her brother Ngozi appears. He folds his arms, smirking. "Oh, look who's here. The artist who thinks she can play businesswoman." "I need to talk to Dad," Amara says calmly. He laughs mockingly. "Dad doesn't have time for your drama. Go back to your paints." Amara looks him straight in the eye. "Tell him I'm not leaving until I speak with him." Her voice is quiet but firm. Something in her tone makes even Ngozi pause. He shakes his head and walks away. "You're wasting your time." Hours later, Amara receives a call from her father's driver. "Chief wants to see you at home," he says. When she arrives that evening, Chief Obinna is already waiting in his study. His face is hard, his tone sharp. "So, you've been going through my files? What's the meaning of this nonsense?" Amara opens her bag and lays the old documents on the table. The deed, the letters, the proof. "These came from Mama Grace," she says softly. "And from Mama. They prove I own half of this company." Her father glances at the papers, then laughs bitterly. "Those documents mean nothing. Do you think you can destroy everything I built?" Amara stays calm. "Then explain why they have your signature, and Mama's," she says. The color drains from his face. He snatches one of the papers, reading quickly. His hand shakes. Before he can speak, Ngozi storms into the room. "What's going on?" he demands. Chief Obinna mutters, "She's bringing up old lies." Ngozi turns to Amara, furious. "You forged them. You just want to steal from us." Amara meets his eyes, unflinching. "I don't need to forge my own birthright." Her voice is low but steady. The room goes silent for a moment. Then Chief Obinna slams the papers onto the desk. "You think this makes you powerful? You're still my daughter. You'll get nothing without my approval." Amara picks up the papers calmly. "We'll see, Papa." She walks out, her heart pounding. The next morning, news begins to spread that Chief Obinna's daughter has come forward with ownership claims. Rumors whisper through the company halls. Some employees secretly cheer for her, remembering how kindly she once treated them. Mama Grace, tired of watching her son lie, decides to act. She calls the family lawyer, the same man who handled the original deal years ago. "It's time to tell the truth," she says firmly. A few days later, the lawyer arrives at Mama Grace's home with a folder of records. Everything matches: Amara's mother's investment, the transfer of shares, and Chief Obinna's signature acknowledging her ownership. "This is strong proof," he tells Amara. "If you take it to court, no one can deny your rights." Amara looks down, conflicted. "I don't want to ruin him," she whispers. "I just want him to respect me." The lawyer nods kindly. "Then let the truth speak for itself." Word of the legal documents reaches Chief Obinna. Panic starts to grow. His business partners begin to ask questions. His lawyer calls him in the middle of the night. The man who once seemed untouchable now feels the ground shifting beneath his feet. Meanwhile, Amara begins to change. The once quiet girl who avoided attention now walks with quiet confidence. She spends her nights reviewing documents, learning about the company, and speaking with lawyers. Tund helps her understand the business side. Mama Grace watches proudly, seeing her granddaughter's strength rise like dawn. Days later, a public notice is sent out, a family meeting at the mansion to settle the matter. Employees, lawyers, and relatives will attend. Everyone is talking about it. Amara feels nervous but ready. She looks at herself in the mirror before the meeting. Her simple dress, her steady eyes, her mother's necklace around her neck. She whispers to herself, calm, not chaos. That evening, as she enters the mansion, she can feel the tension in the air. Her father stands tall at the head of the table, trying to look in control, but there's fear in his eyes. Ngozi sits beside him, glaring. Mama Grace sits quietly in the corner, her walking stick resting by her chair. When Amara arrives, she nods approvingly. This time Amara doesn't shrink. She doesn't tremble. The fear is still there, but it no longer controls her. For the first time, Chief Obina's power is slipping, and Amara's quiet strength begins to shine. She has no desire to destroy him, only to stand tall and reclaim her place. And deep inside, she knows that this battle is not just about money or power. It's about dignity, and the respect she has waited for her whole life. The family gathers again. Ironically, in the same mansion where Amara was once humiliated on her birthday. The lights are bright, the air is heavy, and everyone's eyes are fixed on her. But this time, Amara doesn't stand in the corner. She walks in calmly, her chin lifted, her steps steady. Chief Obina sits at the head of the long dining table, his face serious. Ngozi stands beside him, arms folded, glaring at his sister. Mama Grace sits quietly in a chair nearby, her cane resting by her feet. The family lawyer is present too, holding a folder filled with documents that could change everything. Chief Obina clears his throat. Let's end this nonsense once and for all, he says firmly. My late wife didn't understand business. She made emotional decisions that could have destroyed this family. I only protected what was mine. Before he can continue, Mama Grace cuts in sharply. She understood love, something you lost a long time ago. The room goes silent. Chief Obina looks away, pretending not to hear her words, but they pierce his heart. The lawyer stands slowly and opens the folder. He adjusts his glasses and says, with your permission, Chief, I'll read the original contract signed 25 years ago. Chief Obina gives a stiff nod. The lawyer begins to read. According to the signed and notarized document between Mr. Obina Ease and Mrs. Adiz Ease, 50% ownership of Ease Holdings is held in trust for their daughter, Amara Ease. The trust becomes active upon her 25th birthday. Gasps fill the room. Some relatives whisper to each other in disbelief. Ngozi's mouth falls open. Chief Obina's hands grip the edge of the table tightly. Amara remains calm. She turns slowly toward her father and says softly, that was yesterday, Papa. Her words cut through the air like lightning. Chief Obina's face turns pale. He sinks slowly into his chair, unable to speak. For years, he believed he could hide the truth, but now everything is exposed. His empire, his pride, his lies, all crumble before his daughter's calm strength. Ngozi jumps to his feet. This can't be real. She must have tricked you all. Dad, say something. But Chief Obina doesn't answer. His eyes are distant, filled with regret and shame. The lawyer places the papers on the table. These documents are legal and binding, he says quietly. Amara Ease now owns 50% of Ease Holdings, as stated in the original agreement. Silence fills the hall. Everyone turns to look at Amara, the once forgotten daughter now standing as equal owner of her father's empire. Then Mama Grace reaches into her handbag and brings out an old, sealed envelope. Her voice trembles slightly as she says, there's one more thing your mother left behind. She hands the letter to Amara. Your mother gave me this in case this day ever came. She said it was meant for both of you. Amara opens the envelope carefully. The paper inside is faded but still readable. She begins to read aloud in a soft, emotional voice. My dearest Obina and Amara, if this truth ever comes to light, let it not destroy you. Obina, remember the love we once shared. Choose humility over pride, and you will not lose your family. But if you let pride win, you will walk this life in loneliness. Adiz. As Amara finishes, tears fill her eyes. The room is silent again, but this time it's not anger, it's reflection. Everyone feels the weight of her mother's words. Chief Obina lowers his head, tears gathering in his eyes. For the first time in years, he looks truly human. Not proud, not powerful, just broken. Your mother. She was wiser than I ever knew, he says weakly. I thought I was protecting the family, But I was protecting my pride. Mama Grace wipes her tears. You can still choose, Obina, she says softly. Humility or loneliness. The choice is still yours. Amara stands quietly, the papers still in her hand. She looks at her father. The man who once made her feel small. The man who built an empire using her mother's love. She could destroy him now if she wanted. The power is hers. But deep inside, her mother's letter echoes in her heart. Choose humility or loneliness. Amara takes a deep breath and says softly, I don't want to take everything from you, Papa. I just want what's fair, and for you to see me for who I am. Her words break him. Chief Obina covers his face with his hands, weeping quietly. Ngozi looks away ashamed. Mama Grace closes her eyes in silent prayer. In that moment, something shifts. The mansion that once echoed with pride and pain now fills with a different sound. The quiet beginning of forgiveness. Amara has the power to destroy, but she chooses compassion instead. And that choice makes her stronger than any title or company ever could. Amara chooses empathy over destruction. She has the power to take everything from her father, to push him out and make him feel the same pain she once felt. But instead, she decides to rise above the hurt. She wants to rebuild, not destroy. A few days later, Amara calls a family meeting. Everyone gathers again, but this time the mood is different. There is no shouting or blaming, just quiet waiting. Amara speaks calmly. I've decided to keep Ease Holdings together, she says. But it will change. We'll build something new, something that honors Mama's name. Her father looks at her, surprised. You're not removing me? Amara shakes her head gently. No, Papa. I want you to stay as honorary chairman. You built this company's foundation. But it's time for a new kind of leadership. Chief Obina nods slowly, his eyes filled with emotion. For the first time, he feels both proud and ashamed. Proud of the woman his daughter has become, and ashamed of how long it took him to see it. In the following weeks, Amara takes charge. She restructures the company, promoting honest workers who had once been ignored. She brings in young, passionate people with new ideas. The atmosphere changes, lighter, hopeful, full of purpose. Then comes the day of the big press conference. Cameras flash, reporters fill the hall, and a large banner reads, Ease Holdings, a new beginning. Amara steps up to the podium, wearing a simple white suit, strong, calm, and elegant. She looks around the room, spotting Mama Grace sitting proudly in the front row. Her father sits quietly beside her, his posture humble, his eyes filled with pride. Amara takes a deep breath and begins to speak. For many years, Ease Holdings was built on power and pride. But today we build on something stronger, purpose. The crowd listens closely. My mother's legacy wasn't just money. It was belief. Belief in women who are told they're not enough. That's why today, I'm proud to announce a new branch of Ease Holdings. One that will support young female entrepreneurs across Nigeria. We will fund their ideas, train their minds, and believe in their dreams. The audience breaks into applause. Cameras flash rapidly. Tears shine in Mama Grace's eyes as she nods, whispering, That's my girl. Chief Obina slowly rises to his feet and begins to clap. One slow, proud clap that turns into a standing ovation. The entire hall follows. For the first time, Amara doesn't feel like a shadow in her father's empire. She feels like the light. Later that evening, after the event, Chief Obina quietly visits Amara's new office. He knocks softly and steps inside. Amara is standing by the window, looking at the city lights. He clears his throat, his voice low. You've done what I couldn't, he says. You've led with grace. Amara turns and smiles softly. I just did what Mama would have done. Chief Obina nods, eyes misty. Your mother would be proud. And so am I. There's a long pause. Years of silence, pain, and misunderstanding hanging between them. Then slowly Amara steps forward, and her father opens his arms. For the first time in years, they embrace. No words, just tears, forgiveness, and the quiet peace of a family finally healing. Mama Grace watches from the doorway, her heart full. She smiles, whispering a prayer of thanks that Amara's journey is complete. From humiliation to honor, from rejection to recognition. She didn't just inherit her mother's company. She inherited her strength, her compassion, and her grace. And that, more than power, more than wealth, becomes her true legacy. Weeks later, Amara sits under the mango tree at Mama Grace's home. The afternoon breeze is gentle, carrying the smell of ripe mangoes and fresh earth. Birds sing softly in the distance. Mama Grace sits beside her, holding a cup of tea. She reaches out and gently places her wrinkled hand over Amara's. "Your mother would be proud," she says with a smile. "You turned pain into power." Amara looks down, her eyes glistening with tears. "She gave me everything," she whispers, "even when I didn't know it." In her lap lies a new painting, a woman rising from the shadows into the light, her hands open toward the sky. The colors are warm and bright, just like hope. Mama Grace studies it and nods. "That's you, my child. Rising, shining." Amara smiles softly. For the first time, her heart feels light, free from anger, full of peace. As the camera pans upward, we see the quiet countryside fade into the distant city skyline. The sun sets beautifully over tall buildings, and on one of the towers glows the new logo of Ease Holdings Foundation, Grace in Every Woman. A symbol of new beginnings, born from love, forgiveness, and strength. Ibas Dias. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Sparkling heart, if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye.